Professor Rhee is hands down one of the nicest individuals any of us have ever met. He is trustworthy, he is incredibly kind-hearted, he's supportive, he's a role model, he does just about anything for anyone. If any of us have any sort of issue and want to talk to him, he will drop everything that he is doing to make sure he is there for you. Our class can't thank him enough for all that he has done for us. To us, he encompasses everything that we feel a professor should have. So thank you, Professor Rhee.
WVU Law Class of 2020, thank you for privileging me with this great honor and challenging me to make a few remarks at this time of unprecedented uncertainty. We are so sorry that the COVID-19 pandemic has kept you from precious moments together as a class, graduation festivities with family, the hooding ceremony, and the barrister's ball. Now, nobody likes uncertainty. I sure don't. And I certainly wish that you weren't facing so much uncertainty right now. But like West Virginia weather, wait and it'll change. The only thing really certain about the future is uncertainty. Life constantly demonstrates that we should just expect the unexpected. 3 months ago, I would have never imagined that I would only be communicating with you through phone and computer. In fact, the ability to manage uncertainty for yourself and your clients is the quintessential lawyering skill. Psychologists have even gone so far as to claim that the struggle with uncertainty is the defining contemporary problem facing humanity. So what is uncertainty? Well, it's obviously incomplete knowledge. There's different types of incomplete knowledge, though. You could have a simple lack of information, right? For example, I haven't had a chance to look for a job, so I don't know what jobs are out there. Or it could be the unpredictable probability of a desired outcome. Oh, I really, really want this job, but there's so much competition. There are so many talented recent law grads. I don't know if I can get it, right? Or it could be an incomplete understanding of an overwhelmingly complex system. For example, I don't know how I can plan for the future. You know, I hear how we're going to go through these cycles of getting locked down, the hammer, and then letting people out to interact, the dance. So if I don't know ahead of time when we're going to be in the hammer or when we're going to be in the dance, how do I plan my life? How can you, as a lawyer, policymaker, or just simply a person, best manage such uncertainty? Well, I wish I knew. Honestly, I still struggle with uncertainty. I don't like it when things are beyond my control. I want what I want, and I want it now. There is, however, a framework that I've personally found helpful in the past for dealing with uncertainty. So during this past semester, I relied on this framework when dealing with the passing of my father and my father-in-law. The working name I've given this framework, and I never had a reason to name it before, right, is planned serenity, an amalgamation of planned spontaneity and Reinhold Niebuhr's famous serenity prayer. So what's planned spontaneity? Well, planned spontaneity is making meticulous contingency plans using all the available information while at the same time remaining agile, alert to react spontaneously and instinctively in the moment of uncertain change. Prior planning is not always a good thing, right? It can impair your judgment. If your plan obviously won't work, then and you stubbornly stick to it, that's not a good thing. But with planned spontaneity, meticulous contingency planning helps you realize new needs, new opportunities, and most importantly, what to avoid or not do. without providing you with a robotic future script of what to do. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, one of the greatest orators of our time. He's made some amazing speeches, some on the floor of Parliament, and those appeared to be extemporaneous speeches, but they weren't. Churchill would plan them. He used planned spontaneity himself. He would plan these extemporaneous speeches, write them out, practice them, so that when he actually delivered them, it seemed like they were spontaneous, but they really weren't. Well, Churchill wrote that plans are of little importance, but planning is essential. U.S. General and later President Dwight Eisenhower concurred, writing, "Plans are worthless, but planning is everything." You might have heard this expression attributed to German Field Marshal Moltke: "No plan survives contact with the enemy." So in a past life, I had the privilege of serving as a U.S. Army infantry officer. So when I went to school, we were trained in this extremely detailed, elaborate planning process. Stay up all night with our computers, writing these detailed orders with all these complicated attachments and like multicolored map overlays. But I was fortunate to have a superior officer who forced me, when I got out of school, to take that detailed schoolhouse planning and apply it to battlefield uncertainty. He made me learn to issue orders quickly in less than ideal conditions. So like under a dripping poncho with a red lens flashlight, or with heavy metal music or artillery simulators going off right next to me while I was trying to give the order. Always, 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 I had less information than I wanted. Would frustrate me. I'd be like, I wish we could find out this, but had to go with what I had. His standard for a combat order was 5 sentences in 50 seconds under fire. So does that mean that all that detailed planning I learned in school was useless? No, but it has to be adapted to uncertain realities. So when I had the luxury of time and access to computers, I'd still type up these detailed orders and I'd print them out and give them to my subordinates. We'd go over them because detailed planning still helped us to recognize, when we needed more information, then we could try to get it. It helped us to war game and rehearse probable contingencies and to coordinate common control measures and boundaries. Now, once we went out into the field, I would just improvise and adjust from the written plan, the detailed plan. And because everybody knew that the detailed plan only just put us on the same page, everyone actually expected the plan to change after first contact. Now, law school has prepared you well for making detailed contingency plans. If you would like help contingency planning your life or just want a sounding board, please don't hesitate to contact me now or 10 years from now. So why do I call this process planned serenity? Well, if you're like me, my default reaction to uncertainty is anything but serene. Serenity is defined as being peaceful, calm, untroubled. American Christian realist and German anti-Nazi immigrant Reinhold Niebuhr wrote the Serenity Prayer during World War II. So its first stanza is commonly recited in a lot of 12-step programs like Alcoholics Anonymous. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Objectivist libertarian Ayn Rand, who substantively pretty much disagreed with Reinhold Niebuhr in almost everything, she nevertheless asserted that the Serenity Prayer was profoundly true as a summary and a guideline, and beautiful in its eloquent simplicity. Rand also thought that the Serenity Prayer involves philosophy's deepest metaphysical moral issues. So when faced with uncertainty, above all, we need the wisdom to know the difference between things we can and cannot change. Well, we can't change uncertainty. We can, however, change our response to uncertainty. Uncertainty cannot be cured, tamed, or ignored. It can only be endured. Enduring uncertainty requires things that I don't like living in limbo, accepting ambiguity, continuing to seek an answer to an unanswered question, or appreciating that sometimes the best that we can say right now is, I don't know, not now, or not yet. In short, enduring uncertainty requires patience. Dealing with uncertainty might not be something we want to do, but rather something we have to do. So at least in a professional setting, unnecessary anxiety or drama is counterproductive. When your client can't deal with uncertainty, you as their lawyer have to be the calm in the storm. And when you can't deal with uncertainty, and look, we all have our freak out moments. I definitely have mine. You need to fake it until you make it, at least until the decision-making time has passed. John Chambers, dyslexic former CEO of Cisco, WVU law alumnus. He came and talked here a little while ago. He first learned the importance of staying calm under pressure in West Virginia. So throughout Chambers' career, the Ravenswood, West Virginia native returned to what he called hold on to the pole, a lesson his father taught him at age 6 when he almost drowned bass fishing. So Chambers and his dad were bass fishing on the Elk River, and Chambers slips and falls into the current, right? And he's just swept away by the river. And as he's getting pulled under by the river, he hears his dad yell, "Hold on to the fishing pole." Now this fishing pole wasn't fancy, it wasn't expensive, but little Chambers, did what his dad said and held on to the pole. And he went under, he dunked, he got under the rapids, came up again bobbing, sees his dad running down the bank and yelling, "Hold on to the pole." So finally, when little Chambers gets to a spot where his dad can swim in and pull him out, lets him recover, then his dad explained to him why it was so important for Chambers to hold on to the pole. The reason had nothing to do with the fishing pole, but it had everything to do with Chambers. So although it's a common and understandable reaction, the worst response to uncertainty is panic. As Chambers wrote, "As long as I stayed focused on holding on to the pole," my father explained, "I was less likely to panic and fight to get out of the water, which is one of the worst things you can do when you're trapped in rapids. You have to go with the flow and look for opportunities to get out. I was too young to get myself out, so his goal was to help me manage my fear until he could find a place to rescue me. You couldn't stop the fear, you just had to manage it." It was a lesson that stayed with me my whole life, and one that was reinforced a little over a decade later when I went with my youngest sister Patty to a viewing of one of her friends. He'd apparently drowned in the very exact same spot where I'd fallen in the river at age 6. Only he was probably about 14 at the time. As I walked by the coffin, I was struck by how much he looked like me. I remember his face like it was yesterday. He would have been much stronger than I'd been at 6, and certainly a lot more savvy about how to get out of rapids. I don't know the exact circumstances of his death, but I suspect he died because he panicked. Nobody was there to remind him to hold on to the pole. Planned serenity is the paradoxical tension that is the essence of good lawyering. So people know the first stanza of the Serenity Prayer, but there is a second stanza that people don't necessarily know as much. And the words, I think, encompass this tension that we're talking about. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace. So as you learned in law school, Lawyering encompasses a number of seemingly contradictory paradoxes like promoting uniform precedent and predictable expectations while at the same time pursuing innovation and fact-specific tailored solutions. Fighting while conferring in good faith. Simultaneously seeking deterrence and collaboration. Or promoting the rule of law while remaining acutely aware of its limitations. So instead of resenting, denying, oversimplifying these inherent tensions, the best lawyers learn to live comfortably with them. They remember to hold on to the pole. Uncertainty isn't always a bad thing. After all, you can't have hope, freedom, tolerance, patience, transparency, or liberty without the accompanying uncertainty. In truth, our view of uncertainty depends upon our subjective expectations, right? No one wants too much uncertainty as far as we define it. I don't like, if I say this is how much uncertainty I don't want more than that. But nobody wants less uncertainty than we want, right? If we have too little uncertainty in our life, we might be reckless. We might be thrill-seeking more excitement in our life, right? So John Chambers and Cisco, when John Chambers led Cisco, he faced 6 uncertain economic downturns. And each time, Cisco and John Chambers had to reinvent themselves. So to Chambers, the best way to manage uncertainty is to be forced to reinvent yourself for the better. To Chambers, uncertainty thus presents an uncommon opportunity. Again, if you ever want to discuss reinventing yourself when you're in uncertainty, just let me know. Just last week, I talked to an alumnus from 10 years ago about reinventing himself in uncertainty. Now, our current crisis is particularly rife with uncertainty. But, as WVU President E. Gordon Gee has noted, in the words of a cynical but apt saying, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. A crisis forces us to clarify priorities, and it brings what is important into sharper relief. And this moment presents us with the greatest of opportunities. WVU President Emeritus David C. Hardesty Jr. elaborated, "We can find meaning even in the darkest times and unlikeliest places. Where we find meaning, we find hope. And we can transform hope into action that helps other people and rescues us individually from our own despair. Consequently, I hope that the current uncertainty might make some needed change more likely than it would have been before this uncertainty. Change like a more widespread belief that science, while not dispositive, really matters. Public service for the common good is needed, noble, and honorable. Government isn't always the problem. Sometimes it's the solution. The U.S. economy needs to address its severe socioeconomic inequality. Everyone is entitled to quality health care and paid sick leave. The U.S. healthcare system needs to address startling racial disparities in access and quality of care. We can agree to disagree without being disagreeable. We need compromise and consensus to continue to form a more perfect union. We can appreciate life's simple pleasures and blessings more. We at WVU Law know that the WVU Law class of 2020 is more than up for this challenge. Just ask your loved ones. They know what we're talking about. Thank you to your loved ones for supporting and encouraging you to achieve the great accomplishment of becoming a lawyer. Let's give them a hand. We have been blessed with witnessing you journey from shell-shocked 1Ls to the confident, kind, capable alumni and future lawyers that you are today. Thank you for your diligence, dedication, and caring. So today we are certain of two things. First, we shall eventually triumph over this virus and return to our former lives. Victory is assured. Jen Powell and I are looking forward to showing our appreciation in person to you and your loved ones. So when this is all over, you are invited to a party on us. Seriously. Second, I earnestly wish we were able to provide you with a better, more certain world to enter into upon graduation. You deserve nothing less. But we weren't able to get it done. That being said, we know you're well positioned to thrive in the world as it is, or in any other you may encounter. We know you'll be able to move forward past the point where we couldn't go. The future of the legal profession and the future of our world are in your good and capable hands. Please never forget that everyone at WVU Law, current students, staff, faculty, administrators, is here to support and help you always. Once a mountaineer, always a mountaineer. Stay in touch. Stay safe. Be well. May God please bless you and your loved ones. Thank you.